Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now getting closer to the middle point of 2023, and as we are getting close also to the very last episode of The Mandalorian Season 3, a lot of fans are really just expecting a lot of things to happen with the upcoming Ahsoka Tano series by Dave Filoni and John, and this is by far the most anticipated show because of several reasons about how it's going to borrow a lot from Star Wars Legends, mixing it in together with the new by Dave Filoni. And we got some great villains coming into the equation here, such as Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati, just to name a few. And we got also, of course, Mando 4 in the works. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, given that Kathleen Kennedy has been having a very rough time over at Lucasfilm between the production issues with the Acolyte and Skeleton crew, as well as the Disney shakeup between Bob Iger and the executives, there's one thing in particular that could very well be a bad thing for Star Wars fans, and this, I believe, is not a good sign when it comes to Kathleen Kennedy and her stay at Lucasfilm, and how this all revolves around a specific Star Wars project, as well as Indiana Jones 5 and more. Now, we talked about this lightly a couple of days ago, and we're going to be going over some of the developments that have risen above that, and we also know that Bob Iger is getting into more trouble based on what he's trying to do, of course, to really kind of level out the situation, but we'll talk about that at another point in time. Now, the thing about this that really stands out to me and worries a lot of fans out there is exactly which kind of proposal Disney executives are trying to agree with each other that would allow Kathleen Kennedy to essentially stay at Lucasfilm and get a second chance. So, Disney, of course, CEO Bob Iger is preparing to make several announcements related to Star Wars by this fall. Now, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have been developing new shows that are up and coming for the audience. It is described that recently one of the big proposals that are moving forward has a lot to do with Kathleen Kennedy and her involvement over at Lucasfilm. Many of the Disney executives have been coming together lately, and many of the executives also are beginning to agree with each other to give Kennedy a fair shot and chance at Lucasfilm. The plan right now, which is likely to be finalized by this May, is set to give Kathleen Kennedy a potential second chance at Lucasfilm, if and only if Indiana Jones 5 proves to be wildly successful at the box office and with fan-led reviews. This is something that many members of the board are using and pushing for, which is now giving Kennedy a chance to stay hired at Lucasfilm if Indy 5 does indeed perform well. However, the firing plan for Kennedy to leave by this August is still underway by Bob Iger and the executives if Indy 5 does prove to be a failure on their end. Now, let me just stop right here quickly for 1 second. Now, we obviously know that Indiana Jones 5 and the Dial of Destiny is one of those projects over at Lucasfilm that seems like it looks great in the trailers, it looks well edited in the actual teasers and stuff around those lines, but look, I always like to bring this up. The Last Jedi had amazing TV spots. It had amazing trailers. It had amazing teaser trailers. It really convinced you that this was going to be like the Star Wars movie, right? And then you go into the theater and everything's different. You know, obviously, the overall theming is different. What you expected from the trailers is nothing at all like how they hyped it up to be. And I get it, you know, when you look at stuff like movies, trailers are meant for marketing, but The Last Jedi took it to a different level where it almost felt like it was false marketing. But I digress. The thing about this is Kathleen Kennedy is being given a potential second chance at Lucasfilm if Indiana Jones 5 proves to be successful at the box office and through fan reception. And what I'm talking about that is, of course, we're talking about repeat ticket sales, we're talking about the reviews, not just by the fans, but also by the critics and stuff around those lines. Just the overall movie's performance as one is what they are relying on right now to determine if Kennedy is going to stay or be fired over at Lucasfilm. And this is really worrisome because this really gives Kathleen Kennedy a somewhat of a fair shot to stay at the company and create more problems with the Star Wars franchise moving ahead. And this is where it gets a little bit worse, and we're going to be tapping into this right now. So, beyond that, beyond giving her a potential second chance, LUCASFILM, of course, already canceled both the Willow series and the Indiana Jones show that was in the early works, which could show signs of low confidence in the movie, which will be good in our case if we don't want Kathleen Kennedy staying. Additionally, if Indy 5 does well, Disney is ready to give Kennedy the rest of her stay throughout her contract to set up some additional Star Wars stories of her own that will be greenlit and produced even after she leaves. Her own contract ends, of course, in 2024. This would then result in a series of projects initiated by Kennedy to be grandfathered in to Disney even after she leaves, after her contract expires. Now, this is all dependent on the success or failure of Indiana Jones 5. This plan is set to either go into effect or be disregarded by this May during the later half of the month. So guys, to be very clear, this proposal is not final yet. They're going to decide by this May if they're going to give her that fair chance or not. And if they decide not to, then she's getting fired regardless. So let's just hope it is going to be the latter, where they're just not going to rely on Indy 5 or the success or the failure of that, and they're just going to fire her anyway. Which, by the way, was the plan for months, and now executives are having a change of heart by giving her a second chance, because the main reasoning behind that is that they feel if Indy 5 proves to be like one of the most amazing films out there, and they go ahead and fire Kathleen Kennedy, Disney's afraid that that's going to give themselves a very bad image of vilifying a successful producer or anything like that. And so that's why they're kind of planning all of this out. That's why they're going ahead with all of this, but I digress. Now, in conclusion, this plan to set up is actually to set up either to go into effect or disregarded by this May, and Kennedy already is said to have changed many pieces of Indy 5 as a last-ditch effort to impress the Disney higher-ups. Now, we know that Indy 5 has not been all that impressive by a lot of the test screenings, as well as some of the Disney executives looking over the footage, and it really makes you wonder, is this going to be the next, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? Maybe it might not be as bad as that, but I don't believe it's going to be a huge success. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, I'm not trying to be negative just for the sake of being negative because of Kathleen Kennedy. It could very well be a good film for all we know. Let's just be honest. We just don't know just yet. But based on what's been going on behind closed doors with Indy 5 and some of the minor reshoots, some of the low confidence in the scenes involving and surrounding the ending of the movie, it's not looking like the greatest sign right now. And that would not spell a great recipe for Kathleen Kennedy's stay. So anyways, guys, I'm really interested to hear what each and every one of you have to say about this whole Kathleen Kennedy situation between herself, the Indy 5 proposal, the Disney executives, I mean, you name it. We have seen this time and time again, and they just want to get her out finally once and for all. So, guys, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Gun in hand, we are alone again, no hiding. From night to moon, we hear them moans again, no